Hey, can you hear me?
Good evening, sir.
Oh, nothing. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank
you, sir. So we'll be starting the meeting in a short while.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, there is some technical issue. That's why we are getting a little late.
Oh, no worries. That's fine. It happens.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm speaking. Perhaps.
Hello.
Hey, finally.
Good evening, ma'am.
I tried to make the new link also, but it just wouldn't work. So anyway.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. You just need to make a new registration with a new email ID. Probably that would work. Sometimes things get stuck, in the system. But I'm
Yeah,
glad.
and now I am on my cell phone, so I'll have little bit challenge.
Okay,
I
that's
cannot see anyone right now, so let's see participants first. Okay, we have few participants I'm showing.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if everybody's camera is on, but I think it will take a lot of bandwidth if everybody turns their camera on. But I will let the, Garima or Junaid who are moderating it, I will let them do that.
Okay, as long as we can share the screen or
Good
now
evening, ma'am.
So we are good. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, ma'am. So we are going to start this webinar. Our emotions need to be as educated as our intellect. It's important to know how to feel, how to respond, and how to let life in so that it can touch you. Good evening, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this international webinar on the topic Managing Emotions in Library and Information Organization, which is being organized by the Department of Library and Information Science, University of Lucknow. I, Garima Basaria, on behalf of my department and organizing committee, welcome all distinguished guests and participants to this webinar. Before commencing this webinar, I would like to thank our patron and Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, for supporting and giving us this opportunity of organizing this webinar. I would also like to thank our Conference Director, Professor B.K. Shukla, Dean, Faculty of Arts and Head Department of Library and Information Science, University of Lucknow, for supporting us in every way. So as we begin the webinar, I would like to remind the participants to kindly turn off their video and mute their systems. Participants may ask subject-related questions only using their chat window at the end of each presentation. Do not close your session or log out during the webinar. So now I would request our organizing secretary, Dr. Babita Jaiswal, who is an associate professor and former head of Department of Library and Information Science, University of Lucknow, to enlighten us on the topic. Over to ma'am.
Namaste to all. I, Dr. Babita Jaiswal, Organizing Secretary of this international webinar. warmly welcome all the respected panelists and participants from India and abroad in this international webinar hosted by Department of Library and Information Science, Lucknow University, Lucknow. First of all, I want to express my deep gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, whose working style, commitment, positive attitude, and politeness always motivate us to think, act, and perform, and this webinar is outcome of this. I may take this privilege to introduce all of you the theme of the webinar. Whenever I was thinking about the theme of the webinar, I have seen series titled Advances in Library Administration and Organization that is edited by S.S. Hines. Volume 37 of this series has explored that how library workplace can and should operate with consideration toward emotions. And as we know that libraries are emotionally stressful environment characterized by continuous change and uncertainty, working with the users and with colleagues can lead to emotional strain and exhaustion if most of the time. This emotional strain and exhaustion needs to be managed within the library for healthy work culture and promoting cordial relationships among librarians and staff, seniors and juniors, among colleagues and staff with users. So I thought the discussion can be organized on this theme. Libraries professionals face unhappy users every day who are often tired, worried, or falling behind in their study. Imagine that one of them has just arrived from the examination office where he was told that he could not register for the next semester because he hasn't paid library fund. How would a librarian handle this situation? This may call for using his best listening skill, and when a student breaks down, librarians' emotional intelligence must ignite. Managing emotions are not very difficult, as we know that emotional awareness and emotional intelligence are the keys to manage emotion. So the aim of this webinar is to ignite our professionals about role of these two in changing trend. If we disregard emotional awareness and emotional intelligence in library environment and work in a library-centric manner, we will continue to exist, but not to grow. Librarians need to think out of the box and try to develop potential to manage or lead with emotional intelligence. Transformational professional must create a vision on emotional performance. We should not think that emotional intelligence is specific to the industry and business world only. Emotional intelligence is also not just for managers and leaders. It is for all. So it is also for library professionals, and it is very much required in our library environment. It will enhance and expand our preconceived notion about the library environment. As our speakers are going to deliver a lot on theme, I invite Garima to please coordinate the next presentation session. Thank you, Garima. Thank you, ma'am. Anjana, ma'am. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So now we move on to our distinguished international guest. It's an honor for us to have such a profound woman amongst us today. So first of all, I would like to introduce Dr. Anjana Bhatt, who is University Librarian, Electronic Resource Division at Wilson G. Bradshaw Library of Florida Gulf Coast University, situated at Florida. She completed her MLIC from Osmania University, Hyderabad, and she did her MS Information Resource Management from Syracuse University in 1997, New York. She has almost 30 years of work experience in this field. Her professional interest includes open access, discovery tools, and emerging e-resources standards. She has also been conferred with various awards and honors and has presented a number of research papers in various international conferences. She had also chaired and co-chaired various committees. Her work has been immensely appreciated in the field of library and information science, and today she'll be sharing her views on the topic, can Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga concepts help you manage emotions at your library? An ancient Indian spin. Ma'am, Anjana ma'am, over to you.
Okay. So you guys can hear me?
Welcome, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do I have the sharing right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It says as host has disabled attendee screen sharing. So I'm not able to share.
Just a second, ma'am. Just a second.
Okay.
Ma'am, cannot share Screen. Ma'am, now you may try. Now it will come.
Okay. All right. One minute.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
Yes, ma'am. It is
Yes,
presentable. Yes, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to share it, but it just says start now. Okay, let's see. Okay, give me just 1 second, all right? Do you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. It's
Yes,
visible.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You are able to see, right, my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so let us start. Hi, everybody. Good morning from me, and it's good evening for you. First thing, I would like to thank Babita for inviting me for this presentation, because I was not really prepared in the beginning, because I thought that my emotions, first I need to control it myself before I can teach others. And then I realized that I'm pretty good at controlling my emotions at work. And at personal life, I may be sometime not able to do it, but in my work life, I'm pretty good at it. And I've been doing some yoga study. So I thought that it would be great idea, to share it with you all and um, share the principles of this Patanjali yoga that were written very earlier in 2nd century, and see how it applies today, So that's what we will do. And okay. So now let me tell you what this talk is all about. As I said, that we will explore the Patanjali Yoga and the 8 principles, and we will see how they apply to our work. And what it is not, that is more important. This is not any lecture on Hindu philosophy or yoga or Patanjali or Karma Yoga and Patanjali Enterprises or anything. Neither it's a presentation on the yoga postures and all that. So we will only restrict ourselves to the discussion of the 8 principles of yoga and how they apply to our work. So let's see what is the agenda of today's meeting. We'll have a very brief discussion because this is a very deep topic. You can probably spend hours together on this topic. So we will just briefly talk about all the 8 principles and what we can learn from these principles and how, which are the good qualities that we can cultivate. And then I will give you a little bit take on my
Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt you. Ma'am, please make your screen full screen.
Make your screen what?
Yeah, full screen, ma'am.
Uh,
No, it should.
I don't know how to
At
do
the right
that.
side, ma'am, it's there.
Are you not able to see the screen?
Yeah, that is there, ma'am, but it's not full screen. Actually, it's showing.
Okay. This is the maximum I can go because I'm on my cell phone. On my computer, it wouldn't let me log in because
Okay,
it was
ma'am. Okay,
like
ma'am.
the
Fine,
host
ma'am.
is disabled.
It's okay, ma'am.
Is it better now?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So then, and how these principles apply at your workplace. That's what is the agenda for this meeting. And this is your learning outcome to know what the principles are and how to apply them. And I will again claim that I'm not an expert. All the opinion expressed in these presentations are mine, and you may not agree with them, but that's fine. If you want to open a dialogue about anything that I said, you can always contact me by email. Okay, so let's talk about the basic stuff about this. You know that Sage Patanjali wrote it in 2nd century. He's the author of Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and he wrote this to teach us, the eightfold path of prescriptions, to live a purposeful and disciplined and meaningful life. It was not only to practice yoga. And let us explore how you can use these principles in your life. Yeah, this is not showing properly at all, right? Hold on, let me see what I can do to make it better. Nah, it's not showing properly.
No, it's fine, ma'am.
It's fine?
Yes, yes, yes.
So let's then talk about the yoga principle. The first principle is like about the external discipline. You are in this world, you need to know your place, what you have to do, what you don't have to do, and all that. Basically, it's like, being in control. And then you have, like 5 divisions of this: non-violence, truth, and non-stealing, and good conduct, and not, trying to collect all the time. And then you have the personal disciplines. What is your personal discipline? So you will keep the purity of mind and thought, and you will have to keep like a content attitude, which means the acceptance of self and others. And then you have to, have the attitude of dedication, perseverance. When you are doing something, you have to make sure that you are, following it all the time. And then you have to also contemplate on what you are doing in your life. And, 1 minute. Since it's not showing properly, I am really upset about it. Okay. What can I do to make it happen properly? Are you seeing the whole slide here? Are you seeing anything beyond nonviolence?
Ma'am, it's coming till non-stealing, good conduct, and non-convicting. That's it.
That's all you can see, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I will send you the copy of the presentation later. And let me talk just, from.
Right, ma'am. Right, ma'am.
Let me see. Okay, so let's go by it then. I will just talk, and I will send you the presentation later. Okay? Okay, I am not able to hear anybody.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
All right. So then the third principle is, that is concerned with the yoga practice, like your actual physical asanas and all that. And the fourth one is about the breathing control, which is called pranayama. And that helps you to develop a attitude for being a witness, to yourself, what you are doing. And God, this is acting so bad. Okay, the fifth principle is, like controlling what you have, like emotions and withdrawal and all that. And the second principle is about the concentration of your mind, Because if you see, your mind is always in different stages, like different status. I would say that sometimes our mind is a little bit confused, sometimes it is scattered, sometimes it is focused, sometimes it is agitated. So we have to make sure that our mind is in good state, like, and that's what is the concentration principles talks about. And then there's a principle of, like absorption. And in common language, you can call it meditation and all that. But for our purpose, we will call it like, the uninterrupted concentration and mindfulness. Okay. The last principle is about, like samadhi. And samadhi is meditation, but for our purpose, we will use it like this way, that you have understood the whole thing. You know what your place is in the whole world. You have developed your personal principles, and you also have your internal discipline. So it's basically the integration of everything, and then you know. So I will talk a little bit here about the absorption, because I will give you a small example. Have you seen in Indian villages, when the ladies go with a pot of water on their head, they have one pot on the side, and they are talking and everything, but at the same time, without holding the pot, that stays on their head. How does that happen? Because they are always, you know, doing something, but at the back of their mind they are concentrated, they are like, they know what they are doing. So this is a good example of, like doing, your worldly activities, but developing a attitude of, concentration. And so these are the 8 principles. First is your external principle, then you have your internal principle, physical, and then you have your observation of your mind and emotions, and then you are well arrived. And based on this, I would tell you that I have taken these qualities, like 8 qualities that you can, like you can develop these 8 qualities. And there's a little bit religious touch here, in the sense that they are like, like 8 flowers that you have to give it to anybody, especially to God. When you offer the 8 flowers, what you can do. So your first flower is, non-violence. What does non-violence really mean? Non-violence, I would say that it's just not like this, that you don't kill anybody, and like, it's just not about just only killing. You can hurt people by your thoughts and your action and your speech, so you have to really mind what you are doing. And the sense control is, again, like you have to control your emotions and all that. Of course, we are all born with emotions, so it is not possible to just curtail them, because they are the our ways and means to get into this world. But still, we have to learn how to control your emotion. And about the compassion, I would say that you have to have, some kind of a, you have to develop that attitude that you are going to be kind to everybody, and you have to coexist on this world, in this world. And like, I'll give you a small example. Like, you see, at your home, you might have a lot of electrical appliances. They are all plugged to, different plugs and all that. And then you have a main switchboard, and then the switchboard is connected to the city light department, or wherever. So the point I'm trying to make is that power is same, but appliances are different. So the name and the form might be different, but we all are governed by the same power. So if you understand that everybody has the same consciousness, like you, then you can, develop the attitude of being a conscious person. And next is the forgiveness. And I would say that there is a lot said about forgiveness, that you should forgive people and all that stuff, and it's easy. But my personal take on forgiveness is that unless you forgive someone, if somebody did something harm to you, and if you do not forgive them, basically you are hurting yourself. So to avoid hurting yourself, you have to forgive others, and let's talk about little bit self knowledge. You have to, like, you have to understand, like, what is your place in the world, what you are here for, and who you are, and all that. It's like a deeper topic, but it is very important. And about the dedication, I would say Dedication is something, that you have to do it every day. If you are committed to something, you have to do it every day. Otherwise, you are just playing a game of plus and minus. Like you do something for 10 days and then you don't do it, then you start it again. So it's not a good idea to do like that. You should not do that. You have to have, you have to have a complete commitment to anything. And that is why it is called like, tapasya. You probably, our Indian friends are familiar with that, because it's a trial by fire. When you want to learn something, you have to be dedicated. And about then there's another one which is not showing on the screen, and it's called peace. Like, you have to understand that you want to make money, go for it. You want to have good stuff in life, go for it. There's nothing wrong in that. But at the same time, if you have the wisdom to know that worldly pursuit of all these things will not give you everlasting contentment, if you know that, then you are at peace with yourself. Okay. One second. And the next one is the truth. Like, again, people say that we have to speak truth in all situations, but you have to take that with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of lot of thing goes into that. It's not this that you can always speak truth and people may not like it. And there are, three gates of truth. Like when you speak the truth, you have to understand that, you have to really know that it is 100% truth. If it is not, then I would rather not say anything. And if it is hurting anybody, I would not say it. And if it is not kind, I would not say it. So basically, these are the eight qualities. You have nonviolence, sense control, compassion, forgiveness, and knowledge, and dedication, and then peace and the truth. These are the eight qualities. These are called eight flowers. I have given you the reference in the reference part of it. You can read more about it. It's really important. So the graphic also here tells you that your job is to learn yourself. Others, they are doing their things. You can leave them to, like it's better to learn yourself. I would put it like that way. Okay, and now I'm going to give you something, like my take on this, what you call, what I think about all these things, So I would like you to think about it, that whatever situation you are in life, your reactions will guide that situation. But your reactions are coming from your mind. So is your mind predetermined? Think of it, that whatever you think, how your mind works, it is the result of how you are brought up. What is your family circumstances? What are your social circumstances? And what is your DNA? So it will look like that if your father had a very big, problem with anger, he may have passed it on to you. Okay, so it's a problem. But as a sensible person, you have to recognize that problem and make effort to remove that. So, okay, we are born with predetermined things, but we have to make an effort. I would say that you have to know the concept of being twice born here, because, uh, uh, when we are born, we have no control of of our parentage, which family and all that. But after being born, we have, once we have grown up and we have a maturity and all that, we have a responsibility to make sure that we make progress in our life. And so we have to kind of give birth to ourselves, our mature self. You are born as a baby, but later on you have to give birth to yourself as a mature person, because life is a school. You see, we are all here to learn and grow, and nothing is right or wrong, and everything is, in my opinion, is an experience. And as Lord Buddha says, that scriptures are there, all the readings are there, you can read as much as you like, but after a while, your experience is the only thing that should guide you. I give you a small example of a boat. Like you need the boat to carry you through the sea, or the like the small river or whatever. But once you have crossed the river, you don't carry the boat on your head, right? You walk. So this is what it is. You learn something, you leave it and work with your experience and try to assimilate. So that is why Gautam Buddha said that you have to be your own light and shine upon yourself. Now let me talk about these principles, how they work. And now we are making, like, its first part is over. I have explained to you the 8 principles and what is my take on how to develop your maturity and what are the 8 qualities that you need to develop. And now let us talk about the emotions and all that stuff. Okay. Let's begin the discussion. And first thing I will tell you that this talk is about all about emotional intelligence and controlling emotions at work and how you do that and all that stuff. But I will give you my take here. I would say that emotions have no place at your work. It is neither an option nor a choice. But discipline and maturity should be your guide. Emotion should not be your guide at work. It in personal life, it is a different story. But in at office, you have to, when you are at work, you have to realize that if you are too much of an emotional person, sooner or later you are going to land up in problems. So discipline and maturity should be your guide. That's the first thing, according to me, that you have to remember. And since we are talking about external principles, I would recommend that once you start working for an organization, it is very good idea to understand what is the accepted behavior at that organization. What I mean, like, are the rules and policies. And as you can see on the screen, we have so many policies here. Code of ethics is there, how to work with disabled people, and your networking and email policies are there. And discrimination, I mean, how you should treat everyone equal, and that includes like all the people from the LGBTQ community, which is lesbian and gays and bisexual, trans and transgenders and queer people. And you have to make a safe working place for everybody, and sexual harassment policies and all that. And then the big policy here that I would like you to think about is conflict resolution, because that's the place that's going to help you a lot if you are stuck and you are having a lot of emotions to deal with. So understand what is an accepted behavior at your work. That's the first thing. You have to learn all the policies. And at our school, these policies are mandatory, and we have to take this training every semester so that we know what is happening. And once you know what is accepted behavior, you will be able to manage yourself properly. Okay. And the second one is about the again, the ethical rules. We are still talking about the external ethical rules. So first thing you have done, like, you have seen what you can do or not do at work. And second thing is, you have to have respect for everybody, and you have to keep an open mind. If you have like preconceived notions, then it will not allow you to see others' point of view. So keep an open mind and understand that like, you have to be a non-violent person in terms of speech, action, and thought. Because I would say that you have to watch your thoughts very carefully. Whatever comes in your mind based on your desires, you have thoughts, and then those thoughts will make you do something. So watch your thoughts. If they are bad, you have to nip them in the bud. And one thing you all may not have recognized or whatever, but I have learned in this country that even looking at someone, staring at someone also is non-violent. I mean, it's like violence. Like, you get scared that why is this person looking at me. But in India, it's like, this is one thing that really I have seen the difference, that people look at you, people judge you and all that. So because they have preconceived notions, I would say that I'm not blaming that they have it, but maybe they are brought up. We are all brought up like that. So I think that you have to recognize this, that what kind of violence you are leashing on somebody else when you even look at them. So, that's the first thing. Like, you have to remember that you have to be nonviolent. And I would say that at any workplace, your job assignment is the best guide, because once you have your job assignment in your hand, you know what you are supposed to do, what is your duty. And once you are doing your duty, it is office work, it will get done. There is no need to show your anger or your emotion or anything. Just do your job. And then do not waste time at work, like spending unreasonable time on social media, talking to people long hours, taking long lunches, shopping at work, gossiping, and using office stationery. These are just some examples, that you should not be doing that, because they are all kind of stealing. If you are supposed to work for 8 hours and 2 hours you have sat on the social media, that means you worked only for 6 hours and you stole 2 hours time, and the time is money. So everything in life, when you are doing something wrong, it kind of, attributes to stealing. People kill somebody. So what happened? Somebody kills someone, they steal the right of that family to have enjoyment of that person's company. So basically everything can be traced back to this stealing thing. So I would say that this is very important. You have to be very careful in doing what you are supposed to be doing, and use your resources as they are allocated. And there's one thing that I feel that we all need to learn is that be comfortable in saying no. When I came to this country, I would be very scared, and I would always think that, oh, people will think I don't know this. But there is only limited thing you can know. You cannot be a master of all or jack of none. If you are expert in your area, you will know that. And if you are not, feel comfortable in directing that person to somebody else who knows it better, because they can do a better job of that. If you don't know it, giving a wrong information is a bad idea. Okay. And again, uh, fine. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. So now we have talked about the external principles. Know your place in the your organization, know your job assignment, know all the policies, know all the accepted behavior, and you know what you can do, what you cannot do. So this is your external principle. Now we are talking about the internal principles, like your personal discipline. I would say, that as long as the niyams and the personal discipline is concerned, um, like a commitment to achieve a definite goal in life involves a lot of hard work, and it's the science of character building. You build the character again the same way. You practice it every day, and then you have commitment to not to give it up, and then you have a total commitment, discipline to carry on. You have some kind of a faith in your practice, so have that. Okay. And second thing is, like they say that, like do what is good for you and not what you like to do. And this is very important, because most of the time we are driven by our likes and dislikes, and we do things, as per our liking. I will give you just small 2 or 3 examples. People like to smoke, right? They know very well they should not be smoking. So what happens? Ultimately they face diseases, and like I've seen people dying because of smoking. So, you have to get up early and do exercise, but you like to sleep. The result, you will not be healthy. You have to eat moderately, but you eat more. The result, you will get diseases and all that. So basically, this is very important to understand what is good for you, and what, you should do only what is good for you, not what you like. And this is coming from the great Upanishad. It is called Kathopanishad. It is the concept of Shreyas and Prayas. And if the Kathopanishad is nothing but a story of a small 11-year-old boy who talks to the Lord of Death, like Lord Yama. And is asking him that, what is death all about? And you will be surprised that in that Kathopanishad, Lord Yama is teaching the science of living. Because what's great about death, it comes to everybody, that everyone knows. But how to live without dying while you are alive, that should be your main aim. So if you don't indulge in what is good, what is not good for you, you will be able to make good progress. We can talk a lot more about this concept, but time is short, so I will not say much about it. And the second thing is, a third thing I would say, that say what you mean, and what you do what you said. And I will remind you of a dialogue from a very good famous Indian movie, in which the hero says that, once I have made a decision, I don't even listen to my own heart. So once you have decided, then don't do any negotiation. Say what you do and do what you say. Okay. And hurting people intentionally also is a bad idea. It's not, it just breeds, like restlessness. When you are hurting people, I don't think you can be comfortable. So then again, like never take proper, do you give proper credit where it is due? And don't indulge in blame games. Things happen, things go wrong, projects are fail. Sometimes, projects fail, but then analysis and the contemplation is required at that time. If you have made a mistake, don't get angry. If somebody says that you made a mistake, emotions will come in play at that time. But then you have to understand that owning mistake is not a wrong idea, because everybody makes mistakes. You understand, you be truthful, you be compassionate, and you always meet your deadlines. And then I would say that working in teams is very important, because in most of the times nowadays, people work in teams. So you have to learn how to collaborate and how to, like accept other people's idea. You are in a team, somebody says, okay, this is my idea, and you don't like it, and you get angry and upset. What's the point? That's not, your emotions are at play. That is not acceptable at all. You have to understand how to collaborate with people and not ridicule anyone, because it breeds hostility, and you prepare well. When I am the team leader, I always write everything, step by step agenda and everything, and share with people. And another thing you have to learn, that when somebody is talking in a team, you should stay quiet till it is your turn to talk, and don't interrupt people. That is a very bad habit. And it is also like shows that you are not, emotionally there, like you are not mature. And I would say that you have to engage in continuous learning. You have to respect wisdom, and you have to, introspect what you are lacking, and, develop skills accordingly. And then let's talk about the physical stuff. 1 minute. Okay. Physical stuff, I would not spend much time here. Basically, it is all talking about your physical health. You all have to know that your body is your instrument to experience this world. Unless you have a good body, fit vehicle, you will not be able to do the things properly, So you invest your time in being physically fit. I would say that most of the office places have, like employee well-being programs. If there are, please take advantage of that. And I mean, physical fitness is a good idea, but please try to cultivate that. And now a little bit here talking about breath control. Maybe some of us might know what is breath control. It's nothing but breathing exercises. It's a play of oxygen, like you take long breath and then, you hold it for a while instead of having shallow breath, because you will understand that when you are watching your breath, you develop mindfulness, and it also gives you like peace and all that. You are able to control your emotions. And they say when you are angry, take a deep breath. Why do they say that? Because it helps you to control your anger, So I mean, these are the things I won't spend much time here. Don't be lazy, use your time wisely, and all that stuff. Then the big thing comes about the pratyahara, and that is nothing but controlling your emotions and all that. And I would say here that from here, like we have talked about 4 principles, like external discipline, internal discipline, and physical discipline. And now you are moving towards your emotion, which are like making a linear journey inside your mind and your emotions and all that. So from this 5th step, you are moving from external to internal and internal discipline. And you have to realize that if you have taken care of all the previous steps, this is the next step, which will make you go deeper and, observe and control your emotion in difficult times. So I would say that conflict resolution is the big thing, because when you are working in an organization, there would be several conflicts for you. And like there will be several times that you will have to face a conflict. So how do you do that? For that, I would say that when you have a conflict with someone, it is better idea to kind of sleep over it for a while and think what it is and how positively you can address it. Because if you address it immediately, it will be governed by emotion, and then you may not say the right things. So I would say sleep over the conflicts for a while and don't respond immediately. And if you must, then you follow proper guidelines and rules and keep documentation, like, because it helps, that you have a union. If here we have a grief counseling, and we have conflict resolution bodies and all that. So when something like that happens, you can take your issue to them, and then keep all the documentation. So later on, if it becomes a legal thing, you have everything in place. So this is the big thing here, I would say, conflict resolution. And it helps to kind of, step back from the conflict and listen to other person. Listening is the most important thing. When you listen to other person, you know what they are trying to say, and then you can be prepared and you can talk accordingly, like, this is what I need to do, this is what I have to achieve and all that stuff. So be sure what you have to do, and see what other person's point of view, and then move on the conflict resolution. Okay. So be aware of your right. And I would say that do not engage in politics and all that. That's very important. And then we go to the next one. There are some more things here. When you are, at work, do your job well. And the results are completely not dependent on you. You take the example of this morning presentation. I have prepared my presentation, everything. And now you see I was unable to log in because there are some external factors that will always impact on your projects. So you do your work, do it properly, don't take undue credits, and learn from your mistakes. I'm going to learn today that how to expand the PowerPoint on this phone, because from my computer it's all good, but from my phone it is not working properly. So a little bit of concept of karma yoga comes in here. People who are familiar with that, I mean, it's not the right place to go in the detail about karma yoga, but basically karma yoga is dealing with this, that you just do what you are supposed to do your actions, and when something goes wrong, you learn how to accept it, you analyze, and then you take appropriate action to improvise the situation. And then you have to withdraw your attention from something that is not productive. And like, you have to observe yourself, make a list of all the positive qualities that you need to develop, and then work towards it. And I would say that you have to make a constant effort from, like, weaning away from negativity, negative people. And I will tell you that it's called work and vampires. People who suck on your energy and time and emotions are the vampires. Just like vampires suck the blood, they suck your energy. So stay away from those people. In your family, you will find there are some vampires who will just, there are some people in your every family, who will be always cribbing and all that. So you have to stay away from these kind of stuff. And at work, especially, you should not do that at all. People who engage you, draw you into discussion and politics, try to be away from them. And then I would say that do not control others' behavior, because you know you can only not even control yourself. So just leave others to themselves. They are doing their thing, they are having their own issues and problems, and without comparing, without judgment, you have to leave things for others. And I truly believe me that when you understand that just like you, everybody is doing their job and they are trying to survive, it can be a liberated feeling. You are not responsible for everyone, be responsible for yourself. And then comes like this 1 minute, huh? You are able to hear me all right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am. With the earphone, it is very clear. With the earphone.
you are able to see me as well, right? Because I'm not able to see myself.
No, ma'am. No.
That's fine, but that's fine. It's not important. And now let's talk about this, two most important stuff about contemplation and mindfulness. Because, like, you have to concentrate on what you are doing, learn to watch your thoughts and your mind without judgment, because basically, as I said earlier, your desires turn into thoughts, and then speech and action brings results. So you have to understand your trigger point. When you see yourself going wrong, control yourself right there. Let me talk about a little bit about multitasking. I have seen a lot of people sitting in meetings and they are busy in their cell phone, or making a drawing and all that, or like, talking on phone and working. I would say that multitasking is overrated. In my opinion, it does not help, or nothing to boast about. And second thing I would talk about is the procrastination, because people delay because they are lazy and all that. But I tell you that as long as you are delaying your things, your emotions are not in control, you are not able to work, you are not happy. So do your things, be done, observe yourself, be mindful. And if you have done something wrong, be your own critic. Every day is a new day. Don't give up. If you get off track, you have to bring yourself back. And again, you have to remember that the higher you go up, there are chances of you falling deeper, because you are up there, you have made so much progress, you are high, and when you fall, it is going to be a bad fall. So you have to remember that don't let yourself fall. If you fall, pick up immediately. And they say practice makes a man perfect. So something wrong, keep on practicing, maintain your positivity, hold what you believe in, because it's very important. Just don't be swayed by people, because your emotions are always swayed by what people are saying. But I think you have to contemplate and remember what you have to say, believe. So because it beats the alternative. If you don't hold what you believe in, you will be always pulled in several directions. You wouldn't know what to do. Your mind will be scattered. Your emotion will be scattered. Nothing is helpful. Okay. So, and dhyana, like as Patanjali talks about, dhyana is like meditation, but I have my own take on the meditation. Uh, let's talk about it. So, what is true meditation? I would say, like, if you're sitting, in a posture, closing your eyes for 15 minutes, trying to not to think, that is torture. That's not meditation. In my opinion, when you have understood, how to control yourself, and, you have like you watch yourself, you control yourself, you do things properly, like when you are able to achieve uninterrupted flow of concentration and mindfulness, then you are an automatically in meditative state. And I would say that basically samadhi is a word, which means that you are balanced, you are integrated, and you are a well arrived person. And samadhi is the result of being fully conscious and being alert in your own existence all the time, 24 hours. So if at all you are thinking of meditation and all that, think, sit in the meditation, but remember that sitting in meditation and not thinking anything is not true meditation. Doing your job properly and watching yourself continuously and watching it all the time, that is the real meditation, because it brings you the state of perfect peace for body and mind. Okay. So I will give you a little bit of recap here of all the, things here. You must have seen now that, in these principles, 8 principles, 4 are for the external world and rest are for the internal world. So, yama and niyama are the external and personal discipline. When you are in this world, you have to learn how to coexist, with other people, what you should do, what you should not do. So that's your external and internal personal principle. And then you move down to your body, like you are somewhere in the world, right? And then you have your discipline. These are the subtle things. You cannot see them, but they are there, and then you move to your own body. And how you take care of your body, you do physical exercises and you breathe. So breathe well. I wouldn't say breathe well, because basically it is, it's just one of the principle that you have to do the exercise, breathing exercises. I have been doing that for quite some time now, and I can see a remarkable difference. It makes you very less tired, and it also kind of just feels good, to watch yourself and what you are doing. And it definitely, improves your lungs capacity and all that stuff. So, but, I don't think that you should engage in pranayam without any proper teaching. So learn about that. That's the physical layer. Once you have taken care of the universe, then you come down to your personal existence, then you come to your body, and then you go to your senses. Okay, so people tell you to control your senses, I understand that, but we are born with these senses, because without this sensory experience, we would be nothing. We need these senses, but again, we have to control them as well, And if you do not control your senses, then you will be scattered mind. And again, I will refer to one small concept from Kathopanishad. It says that you have to turn inward, like everything you take from outside world, like social media and all the news things and all that. Earlier people had no knowledge about what is happening in a different town, and now you have the whole world in your small mobile phone. So all the time, you can spend, and then whatever things are happening externally, they impact your emotions. So how much you can take, how much, what you have to serve as your gatekeeper. Mental discipline is very important. And you have to make sure that you watch what you are thinking, where you are going, and that's like dhyana, like being always in contemplation. And then there is a deeper layer of assimilation, which means that you have understood the whole world, you have understood yourself, you have understood your body, your mind, your thought, and then you are continuously watching it, because if you give it up, then again you will be nowhere. So that is the internal peace and commitment is the one that is the samadhi, And here I have final things to say, that, like we talked about all this principle, we talked about philosophy, we talked about emotions and all that. But ultimately, it's like a funnel. You talk from the top level to down bottom level, and then finally you come to your peace and well arrived situation in life, which means you know what to do, what not to do, how to control your emotion, how to control your body and all that stuff, and you are making a growth in your personal life. But basically, if you ask me, it all boils down to live and let live principle. You are on this earth, you are here, and you have to behave, what you would want other people to behave with you. So I would say that live and let live is the principle that allows you to control your emotions once you know that, okay, everybody has a right to live the way they want. So you have to learn to coexist with all forms of life, and then do unto others as you would have them to do you, as you would have them do unto you. That means that if you cannot bear insults from anyone, don't insult anyone. Just do the same behavior which makes you happy. You do the same thing for others. And the final thing I would say that, you come in this world, we come bare and empty handed, right? Right from the day we are born, immediately we are sustained by the structure that is already in place, right? You have a hospital, you have a family, you have a society, then you go to school, then you grow big, you go to, like government structures, like gives you water, electricity, everything. You cannot sustain in this life without other people, external help. So what is your job? We come in this world, empty handed, but we should be giving always. Do not play the game of life with a catcher's mitt. Catcher's mitt is nothing but a glove, always. I just give me. It's not about you. You have to leave this world a better place. We have a responsibility, and you can do that only if you are a principled person and not driven by emotions. And I would say that you have a responsibility to leave this world a better place for others. And like, I like to quote a lot from Gita. So I would say that, in Gita, Shri Krishna says that you have to have low karpanam attitude, that do the work for the society, not for your own personal self. So make yourself valuable. You cannot do that unless you are a control person. So I would say that with this, I would like to stop because I don't know how much time I have taken, but I think I took about 40 minutes or so. And there were some examples that I wanted to give, but it's fine. I would rather leave enough time for the next presenter. And yeah, so that's what is my recap. Move away like a funnel, and like, external to internal to personal discipline to control of mind, control of emotion, and be a right person. Continuous learning, leave the world better for other people. Emotions should not guide you all the time. You have to understand that emotions can drive forces in all direction. You have to control yourself. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for such an intrusive presentation. And I hope so that our participants are surely going to apply the yoga principles and the qualities which you talked about. And it will help them to understand one's own emotion as well as emotions and feelings of others, so that they can live a more fulfilling professional life as well as personal life. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Now, moving further, I would request participants to ask questions, if any. So I received, ma'am, there are certain questions.
Sure.
One of the participant asked that if we openly say no, and if you don't know anything but in library as a library professional, how can we say to our user that I don't know?
Okay. So I would say that this situation will come up when you are trying to provide reference service to people. Like, you can tell people that, okay, so basically, first thing, you have a responsibility to know what your job, right? So when you are working in the library, make yourself familiar with the, physical location, what your resources are and all that stuff. But say, for example, I'm a business librarian. I used to work as a business librarian. So I'm sitting on the reference desk. A person comes with a science question. I do not know that science question very well, but I know that where I can find some information. So I try to do that. And after that, if I am stuck and I do not know that science answer to that science question, I happily direct that person to the science librarian. I give the telephone number, I give the name of that person, and I say, from here onwards, this person is going to help you. So you can say no. You are not a subject expert on everything, but generally you have to find out what is all, I mean, like certain things, where is bathroom, where is study room, where is this, that. You have to know all that. And if at library, if somebody asks you to do something for which you do not have the capability, you can always say no. And there is nothing wrong in saying that, in my opinion.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one of the participants asked, are these 8 forms of yoga equally applicable to the people suffering from depression?
Absolutely. I would say absolutely. If somebody is suffering from depression, then I think a class would be required. You talk to that person, what life is all about, what are they here for, how can they be productive? Because the person who is in depression basically is asking, you recognize me, hey, I'm here. So basically, you recognize that person, you talk to them, what is their problem? And then, meditation has proven tremendous. You can go to several journals and look for articles. It brings the depression level down, and especially breathing exercises, they change the mental makeup. They have done so many studies where they put the neurons and, I mean, all those things, and they see there are some waves in the mind, and they measure those waves and all that. I'm not an expert on that, but I have read about it, that meditation and chanting om and breathing exercises and all that really bring you back, and I will tell you that my personal experience, whenever I have any problem, like any serious thing that is not going away, I start with meditation. I will just simply, and my meditation is not just sitting meditation. My meditation could be walking. I could be just sitting 1 hour and thinking about the problem and letting it go away. Because, like once you think right from the beginning and then say, okay, this is what it is, this is how you let it go. It's called purgative meditation. So meditation is just not sitting. You can just walk. That's a good meditation. Think, and, I say that it really is helpful.
Thank you, ma'am. One last question. Ma'am, what is the role of mindful emotions in libraries?
Okay, mindful emotion in library would be this, that give me an example, like, mindful emotion in the library. Okay, so you are working with a student, right? And what happens is that, the student is getting angry and agitated. I am sitting at reference desk, and the students will come to me and they will say, okay, I need this information. So I start, I'm in my librarian mode, that, okay, you can do this, you can do that, and this is what you need to do. But what they want is, they want the answer right there. You can see the student is getting agitated. They are getting, oh, but, I want the correct answer. I want it. You are not there to do their job. So at that time, the emotions come and play, like the student is getting angry, that can rub on you. And that time you could say, that, like, this is what I am at that time you can refer to the Ranganathan's fourth law, that I'm trying to save you time by telling you properly what to do. And if you do it properly, you will not have to spend more time. And there are situations in the library, when you are sitting at the reference desk in our library, all the public people also can come. I have had situation where people come and, yell at you. And I have had situations where people discriminate against you. Like, I'm sitting on the reference desk, I have a white person sitting next to me, and then I'm sitting, the person who's walking to the reference desk will straight go to the white person. That person might be my assistant, but they will not come to me. So at that time, what emotions can come into play? I will think I'm being looked upon, down upon, and they don't treat me well and all that stuff. But I have to realize that that person has a preconditioned set mind. And so many times it has happened that they will go directly to my assistant and ask the question, and she will say, please ask her because she is an expert. So at that time, do I feel happy? Do I feel sad? No, I just feel, okay, this is how it is, and I don't react to that kind of behavior. So when somebody comes to you, you listen, you just see what they are asking for, and if you reply it properly without bringing your own prejudice or own thinking about that person, that that person is purposely doing that, because you are having a preconceived notion. That person may not have anything in their mind. Keep your mind open. Don't have any what you call, thought that this person may be doing this to me purposely. And you be mindful of that all the time, because there were times, then you will get agitated, but then bring back yourself. Mindfulness is nothing but watching what you are doing. You may do something wrong. Okay, go back, analyze, and be mindful next time. That's what I think.
Thank you, ma'am. One more question, ma'am. That's the last question. One of the participants wants to know whether any of the library have implemented yoga session in their library to control negative emotions.
Yes, we do have a lot. We have a employee well-being program, and in that we have walking sessions. Every Wednesday we have 12 to 1 walking session. We also have meditation session every afternoon. And then we have a gym where they teach us all those meditation and all that. Not meditation, but they teach us yoga, physical exercises and all that. So far I haven't seen them teaching breathing exercises or meditation, but here people teach a very diluted version of yoga. You go to a yoga class, they will give you some example, they will just give you some om teaching, and after that they will just tell you to relax and have yoga nidra and all that. That's not really yoga in my opinion. But I mean, like, it helps you to relax. You go there, you talk to people, and then we also have this kind of mindful eating classes and all that. So our campus is very well equipped to deal with all this stuff. And then we have like an office where people can go if they are mentally disturbed. We all have to take a training, like we have to take a class how to work with disturbed people. So, and we are taught that when somebody is disturbed, you are not supposed to give counseling to that person. When somebody is disturbed, like, or having suicidal thoughts and all that, you refer them to the direct proper office, and you don't disclose their issue with others. But we are taught and we are trained to recognize that kind of disturbed behavior, because we work with students. And I tell you, you will be surprised if I give you the numbers, how many students are disturbed and how many students have issues. Because here students are not having that much support from the family. They are on their own, they work, and they go to school. They have so many issues. Some students are not married, living with their partners, they have kids, they have no money. So there are thousands of issues. So we are here taught how to do the conflict resolution, how to do the psychological counseling, and where to direct. We are taught very clearly that if you see somebody disturbed, you should immediately report, whether it is an employee or a student.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts on such a interesting topic. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I will give my email ID.
Sure.
I will put it in the chat. Please take note of that. I will
Sure, ma'am.
also I will give you the email ID, and then if you want the copy of the presentation, let me know. I will put my email ID in chat, and I'm willing to engage in any kind of discussion about this after the session. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am. We'll be sharing your ID as well as presentation with the participants.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shall I give you the ID,
Ma'am, please.
Because I'm not
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
chat here.
Yes, ma'am. And please, ma'am, could you please stop your screen sharing?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
For my stop sharing, it already is showing like a cross mark.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Now I will put it in the chat, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Now moving on further, it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce our special guest, Professor N.R. Satyanarayan. Due to some technical problem, he couldn't join earlier. He was former head Department of Library and Information Science, Lucknow University. Sir is probably the most experienced person amongst us today who has worked as an educator for around 36 years. Sir is the main architect of the enactment of Uttar Pradesh Public Library Act 2006. His dynamic personality has motivated each one of us by one way or the other. He has trained a number of allied professionals in his career. sir, please share few words with us. Satnarayan sir. Hello. Hello, sir. Satnarayan sir. Yeah, he'll be joining us.
हाँ सर, ज्वाइन करिए सर, आपको
Yes, sir. Over to you. Welcome you, sir.
हाँ रखिए। हाँ फोन किया।
Sir is going to share a few words with us in a short while. Okay.
Thank you.
I think there is some technical problem at his side. We apologize for that. Okay, sorry, due to some technical issue, we couldn't connect to sir. So now it's my great honor and pleasure to introduce our next special guest who has been waiting patiently since the start. He's from USA, Dr. Rajesh Singh, our illustrious alumni, who is an associate professor in the Department of Library and Information Science at St. John University in New York. He has a PhD in Information Studies from Finland, and he received his Master's in Library and Information Science from University of Lucknow. Dr. Singh has extensively published and presented his work internationally in peer-reviewed library and information science journals, scientific conferences, and book chapters. His current research interest revolves around cultural intelligence, knowledge management, information literacy, and information behavior. He has pursued research in the areas of information marketing, branding, leadership and management, and knowledge sharing in organization. Sir has previously worked at Emporia State University, US, and University of British Columbia, Canada. He also served as a juror to review annual awards for the Association for Library and Information Science Education and Association for Information Science and Technology. So thank you so much, sir, for coming and bestowing us with your presence. Now, sir will be delivering the lecture on the topic, Flipping the Switch, Excavating Emotional Pathways to Lasting Change in Information Organization. Welcome you, sir. Now over to you, Rajesh, sir.
Well, thank you, Garima, and thank you everybody who has had some time to join this presentation. I'm very pleased to be with you, and I'm just trying to share my screen. 1 second.
Is ready.
Okay, so I hope everybody can see it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So what Anjana just spoke about, so Eastern philosophy about yoga and meditation, what I'm going to, I'm going to take it the West, okay? So we will be talking about the role of emotion at individual levels and how we can stabilize those emotions to make necessary change in organization. So when it comes to changes, is it careful or methodical planning, or is it logical reasoning? How it works? I mean, if there's one thing that I can persuade you about or convince you about the role of emotion, that would be the success of this webinar, because this is something very important and people do not pay adequate attention to understand how our emotions affect our work. So most of us hate changes, don't like it because it requires us to learn new skills, read training. Sometimes there is a new iPhone. Sometimes there's a new technology. Today you are using Zoom. Tomorrow it will be something else. I have used Adobe Connect in the past. I use WebEx. It is a Microsoft product. And here we are using Zoom. So the only person who likes change is a baby, but most of us do not like changes. And there is some reason. So right now we are all confronting the COVID-19 pandemic and how it has impacted our information consumption habit. I mean, it has started from China in December, and in a few months it is spread all over the world, and it has helped evolve, not say helped evolve, but forced us to develop new habit. Physical hygiene, cleaning your hands all the time, wearing masks, or just browsing information about COVID-19 pandemic. And at the same time, I mean, we were going through a lot of emotions. Sometimes we were frightened, sometimes we were angry, sometimes we were upset, sometimes we were a plethora of emotion, because we are all unique. And during this pandemic, it did not impact me at all because my energy level was very high. I was very productive, and it didn't impact me. But I know there are people, my friends, those who were impacted. Like I was talking with one of my friend who said, well, I miss going to Starbucks, having coffee in the morning. So people were missing their basic routines, although it was just a lockdown, staying in home with your family. And so everybody was dealing different kind of emotions in this environment. At
Excuse
the
me,
same
sir.
time,
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to disturb you. Your audio is not clear, sir.
oh,
Audio
audio is
is.
not
Yeah,
clear.
you're right, sir.
So what do we do?
Uh,
I don't know.
can be
I
done,
mean,
sir.
no, because I
The,
can hear very clearly. And
yeah, but the participants are also complaining. Actually, the audio is a little bit. There is clear
okay,
voices coming.
okay, hold on. Maybe I can get more. How is it now?
Okay,
Can
sir.
you hear me more
Yeah,
clearly?
better, better,
Okay,
sir.
okay. Well, I needed to get close to computer. Okay, sorry about
I
that.
think if you use your earphone, it would be better.
Right, sir. Right, sir.
Okay, let me know, because I have to find out. I don't want to waste anybody time. Is it better, or I get
No,
headphones?
it's better. Now it's better, sir.
Okay. Sorry about that. So what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic, we were also confronted with infodemic. And this is a term used by, uh, it was used by, first it was used by David Rothkopf in 2003 during SARS epidemic. And so it is not a new term, but it entered a popular discourse during this COVID-19 pandemic in February, when the World Health Organization warned about the emergence of infodemic. Infodemic means it is a kind of information epidemic. We are dealing with a sheer magnitude of information, staggering amount of information. Some of that information is true, and some of that information is Not true. So how do we navigate and find truthful information? We are bombarded with a lot of information, and even the curious and concerned minds need to go through a lot of information in order to make sense of information. At the same time, we have our confirmation bias, what we want to accept, what we want to reject. Although, we are hearing all those different sorts of advice, wearing masks, cleaning your hands, social distancing, but people's emotions are reflected the way people accept information, reject information, follow information, or disregard information, because it is information, and how we are processing those information in ourselves. So this is an area of inquiry. This is a new area of research that is emerging. We don't have much information, and sometimes we have information in front of us, but we are not willing to use that information because we say, I'm not interested, I just don't want it. Basically, it has happened here in the US during the impeachment trial of our president. That didn't work, but people are divided into right or left. People say, well, I don't want to, to read anything, watch anything. So we are living in that polarized world where even if information is available, we like to avoid. So the new workplace realities, what happened with this pandemic? Okay, remote working from home, and there we were bombarded with all sorts of advice, like about our health and physical, mental well-being. Okay, do meditation, do yoga, how to do workout at home, working from home. Are the employers are going to allow us to work from home, or you have to come to workplace just to show your face? So we need to find a balance. So these are the new reality. So let's come to the library world. Like we know this, there are lots of issues. We already know whatever issues we are confronting in libraries and what can be other issues. We may have a pretty good idea how we would like to go into the future, but the path is not clear. How to make those changes, how to make and lead those changes and make those stick. There's the coexistence of ebooks and traditional books, ongoing conflict between libraries and publishers, and how do we educate our people in an era of fake news, misinformation, and alternative fact. And with this pandemic, one thing is going to happen for sure. It is going to change the trajectory of higher education, whether people like it or not. And most of the resistance, believe me, it comes from the educators, because they are not willing to adapt. They say, well, we missed that face-to-face interaction. Yeah, we need to find a balance, but younger generation is more adaptive to those online tools rather than the young generation. And with this pandemic, lot of libraries programming, libraries needed to convert their programs into online environment and began to offer during this pandemic, because nobody was prepared to offer their program in online environment. Here, libraries used to have community conversations about civility, about even meditation, you just name it, many things. But during this pandemic, they needed to figure out how they are going to do. And again, it was Zoom, Zoom, Zoom. So, and now with the stay-at-home order begins to be lifted, there are other issues, reopening of libraries, how institution, how are we going to do safety, health, hygiene, and a lot of emotions, like how it is going to impact people. And of course, where are we? What is the image of libraries and information professional? People still wonder, what do you do in libraries other than checking out books? So when it comes to make changes, we must realize that the odds are stacked against us. Research shows that over 70% of change efforts fail. In order to make a meaningful change, the most important competency for a leader is the ability to develop a strategy. However, only 4% leaders were found to be strategists. Horvath, in his research in 2009, in 154 Fortune 500 companies, he researched and interviewed many people. So majority of people, like out of that, I think 10% were those who just those who don't do anything basically in organization, and then about 26% who who just offer mediocre resolution, and then there are about kind of 30% people who need an environment like support, meeting, and where they can be more productive. So the bottom line is that only 4% leaders are strategists, and this is the most important competency for a leader and to make a meaningful change in our organization. Because we have, I'm sure some of you may have attended a lot of seminar about our program about strategic planning, but how many of you may have heard about strategic thinking? Strategic thinking, it is done on day-to-day basis, unlike strategic planning where you meet once in a 3 years or 5 years and then you feel you're done. And then in a strategic plan, those goals are seldom converted into action. So let's talk about understanding emotions. So we have talked about a lot of human emotions at individual levels, how they are translated into workplace. Okay, so this is a scene. There is no crying in baseball. This is a scene. I mean, it is a clip. I don't want to play this YouTube because I know in the Zoom meeting environment, it might not work properly. So I have provided the link. You can watch it or you can just Google search it. You will find it. A League of Their Own. This is a 1992 hit movie, and Tom Hanks played the role of a coach who was a coach of a first female baseball team, and Madonna was one of the players. So what happened on the playground? I mean, Tom Hanks played the role of a, I mean, who was talking pretty roughly, or you can say misogynist, but it is a comedy movie, you just remember. So it's not based on any true incident. So he says something and Madonna begins to cry in that on the playground. And then Tom Hanks, he was in utter disbelief and outrage at Madonna's tears. And this is when he delivered the classic punchline of the movie. You're crying? There's no crying in baseball. And he repeats it. I mean, you can watch it. It is a kind of 3-minute YouTube available. Just type it, there's no crying in baseball. So understanding emotions can be a very tricky subject in the context of workplace. When we come to workplace, we have a lot of emotions. Sometimes we behave like teenagers, sometimes we behave like adults, sometimes we are sad, upset. So as it was in your brochure, just think about when you're dealing with people, you're not dealing with creature of logic, you're dealing with people who have emotions. So what do we do about it? If we translate this thing, there's no crying in baseball syndrome. So what is the right solution? Show your emotion at workplace or don't show? Like with everything, I mean, it shouldn't, like everything in life, there has to be a right balance. We have a lot of emotion, so it does not mean we have to promote or encourage a family kind of touchy-feely environment and encourage everybody to show their emotions at workplace. It would be impossible to work in that kind of environment because we are running a multi-million-dollar business. So it is not a kind of family, and we don't make any sacrifices as we do in family. So it doesn't make any sense to show emotion. But on the other hand, we are not robot, we are not machine, we are people, and we have emotion, and that make us unique. So we need to find a right balance, how to take advantage of those emotions in making some meaningful changes. So when it comes to changing behavior, we have to understand that we are of two minds, rational mind and emotional mind. There are two systems. They're working in us all the time, and they're competing with each other. So you have to understand, and it is based on a bestseller in 2010, Chip Heath and Dan Heath, those who wrote that book, Crux. So I'm using that framework in this presentation. So rational mind, it's all about logical reasoning planning. It is analytical. On the right side of mind, emotional mind, it is all about emotions, habit, impulses, and it is kind of creative mind. So rational mind provides you the logic, bigger vision, bigger picture, and emotional minds provides you the fuel and energy to make any changes happen. So one of the best analogy or metaphor that can be used in understanding how our two system works, it's rider and elephant. So Heath and Heath in their book, they use this analogy. In fact, before that, Jonathan Haidt, who is a social psychologist in New York University, he gave this analogy in his books in 1986 in Happiness Hypothesis. So it is one of, I think it is probably the best metaphor to understand how we behave, why we behave, and how our brain functions. And even though we have been aware about our emotions for a very long time, like happiness, hate, disgust, anger, they're very strong emotions. So we have known those emotions, but how they affect our brain. It is only during the last 10, 15, or maybe two decades, a lot of research has been done in order to understand the emotional side of our brain and how it influences our thinking. So the analogy is rider is our analytical mind. It just does logic, planning, analyzing, or you can consider it as just like our head. And the emotions, the elephant, that provides emotions, energy, drive. You can consider it as a heart, and we need two. So what happens, like rider and elephant, whenever there is a fight between rider and elephant, who wins? You can guess it. Rider can get his way for a little while, but whenever there is a struggle between these two, all elephant will win. That large creature, just think about yourself, like, you have set the alarm to wake up at 5 o'clock, and then it is time to get up and you turn off that alarm. So what happens? It is your emotional desire, craving to sleep a little bit more takes over, and your analytical brain doesn't function anymore at that point. So, so none of that system is perfect. Rider and elephant, both of this have their strength and weaknesses. Rider provides planning and direction. However, its weaknesses is analysis paralysis. What happens? You must have noticed those kind of people, like when you go to a restaurant and have a dinner or lunch, you must have noticed there are some kind of people who are agonizing up, looking at the menu, and they're taking 10 minutes time what they are going to eat, because they're just paralyzed by all those choices that are available to them, and they cannot make any decision. While choices are great, options are great, they liberate us, but at the same time, when there are too many choices, they debilitate us. And then you're doing analysis paralysis and you're just spinning in wheels and you can't seem to make any decision. When it comes to elephant, it is the strength for change, because anything that happens in change, if a meaningful change takes place in an organization, it is always elephant. It provides the fuel, energy, passion, drive, all the creativity, those kinds of things, but it is a weakness ruled by habits and emotion. You don't want to get up in the morning. You want to lose your weight, but at the same time, you like eating cookies, you like eating ice cream. So it's just because you have been eating it for a long time, it is not going to change. So that's kind of elephant. Elephant always needs some kind of quick payoff, some kind of reinforcement, some kind of motivation, some kind of appreciation. Okay, 1 second. So what are their needs of these two sides? Elephant needs a clear, unambiguous path, may be paralyzed by indecision. So it needs a big vision. It can do that. And it has to be very clear. Do not present with too many choices. And it believes in data, statistics, facts. Elephant, it needs nurturing to fuel motivation and energy for change, because make sure you make that change meaningful to the elephant. Those people who will actually make those changes happen, your colleagues, your co-workers, they feel attached to your change, your cause, only then change will take place. So which is more important? Is it rider or the elephant? In order to create a certain behavior or changing behavior, we need to appeal to both rider and elephant. And whenever there is a fight, it's always elephant that wins. Jonathan Haidt, in his book, he talks about while reason and emotion work together to create behavior, it is emotion that does the heavy lifting. In fact, he cites one study in his book that there were many patients whose brains were damaged in those parts which in which they could feel emotion, even though they had all capabilities for planning, logic, and reasoning. They couldn't make any decision because they couldn't feel any like or dislike or any kind of feeling for that particular change, and they were just paralyzed by their by the lack of ability to be not able to feel anything. So is it resistance to change or exhaustion? Just think about it. When people resist change, more than often we are quick to make a decision. Or people are lazy, they're not going to, they don't like any change. I mean, to some reason it's true, most of us are resistant to change. I mean, statistics show, research shows 70% change effort fail. So what happens? So it's because willpower doesn't last. As a supervisor or as a leader in an organization, if you're telling to people, oh, we ought to change, but it's not going to happen because probably they lack clear direction, probably they don't have enough motivation. So let me give you example. In Heath and Heath, in their book, they mention a study in which some researchers went to a high school and ask students to come to their lab, and before coming to the lab they should not have eaten at least 3 hours before they come to the lab. So students come to the lab, and when they come over there 3 hours hungry, they are presented with cookies, and in a plate chocolate chip cookies, and on other plate there were radishes. So half of the students were asked to eat chocolate chip cookies, and half of the students were asked to eat radishes. They were told that they were trying to understand their food sensation. So anyway, and then those researchers leave the room, and but those sneaky researchers, they were watching those people if anybody will be tempted. As you can guess, I mean, it was pretty easy to not to have any problem when you have been asked to eat chocolate chip cookies comparison to radishes, particularly those who are eating radishes. They're looking at those students who are eating chocolate chip cookies, right? But researcher was interested if anybody would get tempted. Anyway, nobody got tempted. Those students, those who were asked to eat cookies, they ate cookies, not a big deal. But those students who were asked to eat radishes, they followed what was told, and they ate radishes. Okay, so what happens next? Then another team of researchers come into that room, and then they give them a geometric puzzle and ask those students to solve it. And so both those groups started solving those puzzles, and the group that had eaten chocolate chip cookies, it it I mean, it spends it and they spend 19 minutes and about like more than 30 attempts to solve that problem, although that problem was impossible to solve. I mean, they have been given an impossible task, but the researchers were interested how long they're going to put effort. On the other hand, those people who had eaten radishes, they gave up after 8 minutes and after just probably 15 attempts. So what happened? They just made effort only 8 minutes, less than 50% of the time comparison to those who had eaten chocolate chip cookies. So the problem was that those students who had eaten radishes, they were already fatigued, they were exhausted, they were tired by making them some discipline when there were cookies in front of them, and they didn't eat it. So what is the lesson here? Willpower is an exhaustible resource. It does not last very long. If you have tried to lose your weight and you expected a wonder in 2 months or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you know how it happened. Probably your diet worked, and then when you left discipline and when it didn't work, then you ate a lot of pizza, cookies, ice cream, samosa, you just name it, and this is what happens because you're tired. So in order to make any sustainable change, you have to make changes step by step, little by little, and you have to understand, because you cannot ask people to 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 have discipline all the time, because they're mental. I'm talking about that mental discipline, willpower. They get tired. So let's look at the example of a university library. This is a failed, this is an example of unsuccessful change management initiative. A university library was trying to implement a web-based discovery system. And the technologists who were complaining that that the change was not implemented due to the lack of promotion, due to the lack of interest of staff, their own colleagues and staff members, and due to lack of interest, because they were not interested in developing new habits, because it would have required them to function in a new way. It would have changed their working style. On the other hand, when I spoke with those catalogers, those who were responsible for making that change, for them it was overwhelming. For them, they were not provided clear direction. There were not enough people that could handle that change, and that would have lowered the quality of catalog information. So in this whole thing, what was the crux of the problem? First of all, lack of communication. What I just told you, where was the leadership? Absentee leadership. There was no leadership. There was no clear lack of communication. Technologists thought something, or they have created a system in place and that should be used. On the other hand, those who were responsible for implementing system, they had a different viewpoint. So there was no clear path, no lack of, there was a lack of clarity. So what this university, what happened here, the administration failed to appeal both rider and elephant of their colleague, both sides of the human emotions. So is it a people problem or a situation problem? Sometimes the problem is the environment. If you don't want to eat cookies, you don't have to have it in front of you. If it is in front of you, you're going to eat it. We are all human beings, and we have our strengths and weaknesses. So you just need to think about it. If you're going to change, you don't need to keep it, because if it is in your home, no matter where you hide it, you're going to eat it. So don't get it in your home. Likewise, at workplace, if you want to make any changes, you need to change your environment. And we are going to talk about how we can do that. So is it resistance to change or a lack of clarity? When a change is taking place, it is not one person who is implementing change. There's a group of people who will be involved in that team, and people have different kinds of thoughts and emotions. Like, does the big dude know where we are going, or is it blind leading blind? We just need to understand. People want to know their final destination, where we are going, and how it is going to benefit them, or how it is going to benefit their library or for their community. Let's look at the case study of a university library. And by the way, it is a successful change. A university library was trying to, have been using Excel spreadsheet for a long time in order to manage electronic information. However, the sheer magnitude of information was making it impossible to manage information. So what they did, this library purchased EBSCO electronic resource management system in order to make their lives easier. So what was the problem? They purchased it, and that decision, by the way, that decision was based on a number of factors, including being wined and dined, those parties and pleasantries, gifts, and all those things happen, and those salespeople, they sell them. Problem was that nobody wanted to learn. Learning is a painful experience. Any learning, people perceive it that way. So nobody wanted to learn. It was too overwhelming and didn't know where to start. So they had a new problem. Whatever solution they thought about, it became their new problem. So new ERM, unsuccessful EBSCO ERM. So they needed to make a decision whether to keep it or dump it. They had a meeting in the library, and library staff agreed to keep it. And once that decision was made to keep it, so they made a team of 3 people who will be receiving training from the EBSCO ERM trainers. So what happened? So on many, what they did in this library they visited those team of 3 people. They visited another EBSCO library, which has already implemented an EBSCO ERM system. So they were able to see a successful change. At least it helped alleviate some of their worries, and they felt like they can also implement if someone else has implemented. And EBSCO trainers came to the library on multiple occasions to train the core team of 3 people who were responsible for training rest of the librarians and staff. So what this library was doing, when this library visited another library, they were identifying bright spots, what was working, what was not working. When those trainers came to the library and trained them how to use EBSCO ERM, what this library was doing, it was writing, they were just trying to learn how they can implement those steps, how they can help their colleagues learn EBSCO ERM. And so the new ERM, there was another problem, so they were trained only on EBSCO publication. There were many vendors in the EBSCO ERM, Oxford University Press, ProQuest, LexicNexis, Countrywatch. So there are so many vendors, and the entry field was very, different for each vendor. So you needed to create a different kind of database for each those vendors. So it was kind of, this change was kind of, the magnitude of change was overwhelming. So what this library, that team decided, they are going to learn one vendor at a time to shrink the change in this whole process. One vendor. Today they will be learning Oxford University Press. Tomorrow it will be ProQuest. Okay. So new ERM. It took almost 2 years. During this whole process, they held weekly meetings regularly with all the unit involved: acquisition, interlibrary loan, and involved everybody, statistician, etc., if those things were working. So these weekly meetings gradually, slowly but surely, they became a new habit for the staff and helped further understanding of their unique issue and how it is going to help that organization. So the transition to full implementation of EBSCO ERM took 2 years. So just think about it. Change is not easy. Depending on the size and magnitude of change, it might take 6 months, it might take 2 years, it may take even longer, depending on the nature of change. So what do we need? We need a framework in our organization. We need a framework as outlined in Switch by Heath and Heath. We need to direct the rider. We need to do the 3 things. We need to motivate the elephant, and we need to shape the path. Direct the rider, logic, analysis, planning. It's important. Motivate the elephant, how to motivate, how to create, how to ignite the passion of elephant, and how to shape the path, because people need to know what they are going to do rather than being told, okay, just go and do the marketing campaign for the library, and they do not have any clue how they are going to do it. So direct the rider. There are 3 steps in this whole process. You have to find the bright spot. What's working and what's not working. Just clone it. Whatever is working in other organizations. There may be processes and procedures that are already working. You are good at it, you want to keep it. And script the critical moves, document everything. And so that the staff has necessary guidance how they are going to follow it step by step, and point to the destination and tell them how it is going to help the library, how it is going to help the library community, how it will be helpful for your library customers, because these library staff, because everybody thinks, what's in it for me? if it doesn't benefit them, they don't care. Motivate the elephant, put feelings first, because statistics, data, chart, it does not appeal to elephants. So make sure how you convert those statistics into a story. Give them a meaningful reason with which they can attach themselves. I mean, something that would resonate with them and they feel passionate about it. Shrink the change. I mean, bigger the change, it will scare the elephant. So just make sure you shrink the change, the size of change, your nature of change, step by step, little by little, and grow your people, because it is important. Most of the time people are resisting to change because they do they do not have
Kindly,
any idea about like kind of
kindly
training.
mute your audio. I would request to mute your audio, please. One of the participants.
Okay,
There's noise
so
coming. Yes,
grow
sir.
your people. So you need to provide training and training, because you need to provide education and training to your people in order to make changes happen. When people resist changes, they don't have necessary training. They don't have any idea how they are going to do it. Shape the path, tweak the environment in your library, wherever, in your offices. Create a big thing in front of you, maybe big poster on your wall. Like, I mean, tweak the environment. Instead of having cookies over there, just put that big pamphlet about that change you're going to have it. That will remind everybody on daily basis, this is what we are going to do. Build habits, make it easier to reinforce new behavior and make it difficult to you know, that kind of negative habit, because elephant is ruled by habits and emotion. Like, for example, what happens in Google? In Google, you can find very easily like healthy eating option, just pretty in those self-checkout machine, pretty close to you. You don't have to walk. But if you want to eat cookies, you have to go on bike, and probably it will take maybe 10 minutes to go by bike or just walk over there. So they have made it difficult so that, you know, people eat healthy options. So I mean, we can translate those kinds of things in our organization about positive and negative habits and how do we develop. Rally the herd. When some people begin to do it, people get social cues from each other. You know, I mean, behavior is contagious. It just spreads like a perfume, and we need to make that happen. And how do we do that? By building good habits. When people see others doing, they imitate, and then a meaningful change can take place. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen over a period of several months or maybe year. So far we have been talking about the, you know, the role of emotions in the context of our organization. And if you have heard, I'm sure some of you must have heard, Malcolm Gladwell, a few years ago, he wrote a book, bestseller, A Tipping Point. So he talked about whenever it is a behavior or any kind of change, but I mean, he talked about a pretty big, you know, national level, societal level. When a particular behavior reaches to a critical mass, then when the tipping point comes in, then that changes take place. All of a sudden, people's opinions shift. But he didn't talk about, like, I mean, until now, we didn't know what kind of people, how much, how, I mean, how do we reach to that tipping point? What is that number? So you would be surprised. You don't need to be discouraged if the change is bigger, because it is the 25%. It is a new research published in 2018, done by the researcher in Netherlands and the researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. They did a lot of research and looked at many things, and in various social media groups, even those simple research, like they wanted to have public opinion about name, like Rajesh, Naresh, Dinesh, like these are few names, and ask those participants which one is a better name. So once some people start saying, okay, Rajesh is a better name, it's my own bias, right? Whatever bias people may have it, once that that group of people reach to 25% opinion shift. And make sure, I mean, they have done a lot of research in social media group, and they have studied it, those research in the context of many organizations, as long as the percentage is 23, 24, nothing happened. The moment it arrives 25%, it changes, because those intolerant, passionate minority, they can sway the thoughts of, opinions of, like rest of the people, let's say 72 to 100% of people, even in a population of 100,000 people. So this is, I mean, those researchers that studied this phenomena after the last US election, and you don't need to be disheartened. I mean, if it is a small organization, just think about 25% of people who will do, and they're always passionate, whether it is a good change or bad change. I mean, you need to remember here too, if there is a chaos in any organization, so you know there's who 25% people, because that critical mass is 25% in those organizations. That's why there's a chaos. If an organizational culture, it is good, stimulating, conducive, so that mass is 25%. A few weeks ago, like in April, I presented a webinar on crisis management here, and one of the participants asked, so what do we do? Like, there are many naysayers in our organization, like what do we do? I mean, and they always resist. Well, the option is to just outnumber those naysayers, right? If they're 25% on both sides of the equation, then nothing could happen. So that's very fascinating research, until it is proven wrong, or new research emerge. We have to believe, we need to identify those 25 people who will believe in your cause. And if we know how to harness the heart and emotions of people, then we can have meaningful change in our organization. This picture depicts a perfect image of a person who has a 100% engagement at workplace. And this is what Guy Kawasaki calls it, enchantment. And enchantment can occur in villages, like societies, universities, boardrooms, your libraries, because enchantment transforms relationship, and it converts hostility into civility, it reshapes civility into affinity, and it changes cynics and skeptics into believers of your cause. So how to ignite the passions of your colleagues? This is something we need to figure it out, because we are all unique. And here are the references that were used in this. And I'm happy to answer a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on this particular topic. And as well said, that most of our mistakes, the big ones at least, are the result of allowing emotions to overrule logic. And we knew the right choice, but they didn't obey it. And as sir told it, and a famous philosopher's quote is that the illiterate of 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So even in libraries also, we need to learn, relearn, unlearn, and relearn. Then only we can move forward. And emotions plays an important role, for overall healthy environment of, the whole environment of the library, as well for our own mental health. So thank you, sir. Now I would like to ask you certain questions which participants has put forth. So one of the participants asked that how to deal with library personnel who are old school and mostly aggressive, because every time we can't keep calm and observe patience.
Well, this is a problem. I believe this is a problem in many organizations where we're working with different kind of generations at workplace. I mean, if they get irritated, if they become aggressive, that is not appropriate, because one has to have decency and respectful behavior at workplace. This is one thing. And we need to figure out why they are behaving the way we are behaving. If they don't know, they need to tell why they're resisting those changes. They need education. If they need further training, that organization should make those training and education available, because we shouldn't be quick to make a determination that person is a difficult person. There may be legitimate reason. They don't know about it, how it is going to affect their work. And so provide education and training. And if it works, talk on one basis to that person. And if it still doesn't work, I know that I have worked in many organizations. There can be some challenging people. No matter what you do, nothing would happen. So if you don't have option to fire them, you need to suck it up and deal with them.
Right, thank you. So there's another question. Now, if one of the participants is asking that if there is no credit for supporting change, then how to motivate for change?
Well, that is a big flaw in any organization if a credit is not given. Like when I just mentioned about an example, and here in New York in one of the library, and that one of my colleagues who told me in her, the deputy librarian responsible for change in an organization, and who said like they want to encourage people to take initiative, right? So what happened? Everybody's taking initiative. Like in an organization, hierarchy is meant for a reason, right? I mean, I suggested, okay, so why don't you create a kind of wiki or blog, in-house where they can share everybody. So I mean, probably they're feeling the credits will be taken. More often than not, it happens. I mean, you share a credit and people take it. And that's why in organization happen, people begin to withhold information and knowledge. They don't share. But in that organization, even probably that communication is still not clear. I mean, so that administration is unable to figure out what to do about it, because unless and until your colleagues believe and that you are not, administration won't take credit of their ideas, probably they won't be willing to share. And I mean, just to create an environment in an organization, it won't happen overnight, because if someone comes from a position of authority and they expect that people are going to follow their command, oh no, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's a kind of tricky thing,
Right.
I mean, culture, we need to develop it over a period of time where people feel comfortable sharing their ideas. I mean, everybody thinks, I mean, in big companies, knowledge resides in silos. We need to create
Right.
a culture. Only then when the information will flow in organization.
Thank you, sir. One of the questions is, sir, how to maintain our morale and motivation level in contingent situation like COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, well, I mean, here, I'm just think about like, as I said at the beginning of this presentation, we are all unique and different. It did not impact me, but I know many of my friends and colleagues who were impacted by it. And I do not know, everybody has a different habit. For example, like in this time, if you are watching on news all the time on TV or on Facebook or TikTok or whatever you are doing it, you need to discipline yourself. You need to change your information consumption habit. I mean, what would happen? Just think about it. If you are eating pizza 24 hours, 7 days a week, eat for 1 week or 10 days. Can you manage it? Likewise, it is about information. If you're just watching news and television all the time and hoping something would help it, it's just need to discipline. And the fact is that we are not going to find any vaccine sooner. Probably it will be in the next spring, January, February. That is our best hope, that based on what I've heard in the US. So just need to discipline yourself and make a conscious decision about your information consumption habit. That's the only thing that can make you calm, because information, if you're consuming too much information, and maybe talk to those people,
Right.
so
Right.
it's a kind of very broad topic. Thank you.
Right, sir. And sir, one last question. In this pandemic situation, how can libraries shrink this, cope with this sudden change? Because it's very hard to change from traditional library service to digital library when there is paucity of funds and it's very difficult. How to cope up with that?
Yeah. Oh, if there's a lack of fund, I mean, that is a real challenge. As a librarian, probably you can't do. I mean, as an organization library, we can request the administration to provide us support and funding. You cannot, I mean, nobody should expect you to convert your library services into digital environment and to be able to provide online services for your library users if you don't have adequate tech support in your organization, don't have adequate training and education. So how you're going to do, that's a very miserable, pathetic situation. I do not know what to do. I mean, this is a real issue. I mean, that would be silly of the administration to expect, oh, you're going to make those changes happen because you're going to do with the help of Google Hangouts or Facebook. Well, I mean, you can make best use of your circumstances, but we used to have a good support. It is important. It is a must.
Right, sir. So there's a very relevant one more question I would like to take up. This one, sir, she's asking that if we maintain optimistic ambience in our libraries during this pandemic time, when there's so much chaos and confusion about what to do and what to do, what not to do, like how can we maintain and this optimistic ambience in the library when there is so much of confusion regarding what needs to be done and what shouldn't be done in this pandemic?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're part of the administration, like it is a flaw of the administration if there's a confusion and chaos. You know, in any kind of crisis, it was a pandemic. Nobody knew what is going to happen. It changed our workplace habits, how we are going to do things, and it has impacted almost every organization. For a week or 2 weeks, fine. I mean, nobody knew it because none of the organizations were prepared for it. But afterwards, there is no excuse because I mean, why we can't make. I mean, it is the flaw of your administration in any organization if it is not providing any clear guidance to the to staff and colleagues what to do, how to do. Obviously, you cannot do everything in the world, but you can do certain kinds of things. So I would blame it to the administration because I mean, it is their job to learn and provide guidance to their staff. And I understand there's a lot of confusion. So you need to find out those organizations which are doing a better job than your own library and learn from them. And this is a time when networking helps. We learn from each other. You know, there are some people who will do better than us, some organizations which will do better than us. So we need to figure it out who is doing better job during this pandemic and can we learn something from them, identify those bright spots and clone in the context of your library.
Right, sir. Thank you, sir. So there are so many questions coming up. One more question is there that out of rational mind and emotional mind, which mind one should go with, like which side the person should follow, the rational mind or emotional mind?
We need a combination of both because both have rational and emotional mind have strength and weaknesses. Because I mean, in order to make any changes, whether it is in our individual life and an organizational life, we need our rational mind because it can think logically, rationally, where we would like to go. Although this kind of logic and reasoning will be without any drive, any energy, any passion. On the other hand, you can have that kind of all those passions and drive and great energy, but if you do not know where you would like to go, how to analyze what's working, what's not working, so you will have all passion without any vision. So you need to appeal to both. I mean, you need to find a balance in both. We are made up of both those systems. That would be a total catastrophic failure if we just try to think about, okay, we have to think about whether think about rational mind or emotional mind. We need to find a balance between these two and appeal to both.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Thanks for the illuminating session which we had, and I'm sure our participants are going to learn many things from these sessions. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. And summing up, we could say that people don't care that how much we know unless they know how much we care. So that is the crux of this issue, I think. So we move on further. Sir Satnayar sir has joined us again. Now he will be addressing the participants. We are fortunate to have him. Satnayar sir, over to you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Garima.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Garima, you are able to listen to me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
नहीं हो रहा है.
Yes, sir. You are audible. Sir, you are audible. I can hear you. Sir, I can hear you. Hello, sir. Hello.
इसको मैसेज दे देते हैं. I am unable to listen to you.
Write it down.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible. Yes, sir.
Oh, are you able to listen to me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have not given me any assignment on any particular topic. However, I should like to say few things as far as the emotions are being concerned. Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
And yes, at the outset, very good evening to all of you. And the seminar we had that about the webinar, and I should like to thank all of you for thinking of me on this particular event. So it is good afternoon to all of you. And as you know, emotions and their management is a very difficult task. Emotions are mostly related to studies about psychology of individuals or psychology of a group or of a society. However, we librarians are very sure as far as the emotions are concerned. However, you have already added management of emotions, how to manage the emotions. And as far as the libraries are concerned, three groups. The first group is circumstances. That is, emotions depend upon the circumstances within the family, within the society, or within the nation, right? And the second aspect of emotion is about the mood. That is the mood of the individual. The mood of the individual also gives way to the emotions. And emotions may be put to two categories. That is what the positive, negative, and positive emotions can be on both categories of mood. Now, I am coming to the third aspect of the emotions. Aspect of the emotions after is the relationship. That is emotions upon others. And we in libraries deal mostly category of that is the relationship with others. Now, how we librarians and information related in other words, emotions. That is the that is we are interested. Now, you may perhaps remember the definition of the library. Okay, when you can you remember the definition of the library of Ranganathan? He said, library is the trinity of books, readers, and staff. So, staff members of the library are library and information professional. They have direct relationship with books and also direct relationship with the readers, that is the users. And in fact, you can replace the word books by information and readers by users. Therefore, the availability of information and the people seeking information, this is what is concerned with we people in the present day information studies. Information is identified, how information is located, and how information is disseminated, and how information is served is particular task. Therefore, we have a special bonding as documents are being. That means, as far as the books are concerned, when I say it is not only books, it's books, magazines, e-documents, it is paper documents or paper documents or online sources of information, all under this area of what we call information sources. Therefore, how the supply of information or the dissemination of information, the service of information, Dr. Ranganathan has very clearly indicated in his 5 laws of library science. 5 laws of library science is his philosophy and staff are concerned. Now, among all the 5 laws of library science, our relationship is mostly defined on the first, second, third, and fourth law of library science. That is, first law says books are for use. Second law says every book is a reader. And third law says every reader his book. Fourth law says save the time of the readers. All the 4 laws, except the fifth one, I don't want to discuss about that, except the fifth one, all the 4 laws deals the relationship of the library staff with that of the readers. Therefore, Ranganathan's definition of library is the basis as far as our relationship with that of the documents are concerned. Therefore, library staff's relationship is with the books and is with the readers. Therefore, we need to deal with both of them. Books are documents are all these things very, very important for us. And now others libraries will be museums only. And if there are no books, there is no use. Therefore, we have to maintain a balance between the books that is available, the availability of information, and public domain. What information available in public domain that we made available the information. So therefore, we need to understand both of them very, very clearly. Right? For that, we have several information retrieval techniques, etc., which I need not have to explain to you. Why I am choosing this particular aspect to talk to you is just to remind you about the philosophy of our particular profession. Our philosophy is based on these 5 principles of library and information science. So nowadays, we are facing lot of problems. What are the problems we are passing through? Now we are passing through a very, very tough period, and we are all involved. Why we are worried? We are worried because we are unable to just go out of our house, because everyone is now being house arrested due to the pandemic that is forcing us to stay at home. That is why we are all emotionally worried. We cannot sit and see we are physically have a conference. See, and that is why we have to interact with the help. And you are seeing for the last 1 hour what kind of problems the information technology is posing to us, that is having a lot of disturbances in between. However, we are all worried. We are all worried emotionally about the perils of the epidemic. That is the so-called COVID-19 is creating lot of mental stress on us, lot of mental emotional for us, because we are being emotionally forced to confine ourselves to our homes. So these are the perils of the epidemic, and our emotions are now around stay home and stay safe. So we are all staying homes and we are all very, very safe. I don't know how long we will be able to enjoy this loneliness for such a longer period. So we are locked up and cannot meet. That is the reason now we are able to interact with you in this webinar, the so-called webinar. The great lesson we have to learn is now that there is no market for emotions. Emotions cannot be put in the market. Since there is no market for emotions, so never advertise your show you will. The emotions are that need to keep to yourself only. Therefore, never advertise your feelings. And then when you are not advertising your feelings, yeah, when you are not showing your feelings, but it's typical. And my advice to you all is convert your feelings to attitude. Attitude is very, very important. Attitude to what? For library and information people, attitude towards books. That means documents or whatever you call information sources, and your attitude must be toward readers and your users of information. That means we are still playing the role of a mediator between the information and the information seekers. That means we still remain, whatever the case may be, we still remain the matchmakers between the documents and and the users. Therefore, that is what I want to remind you about this particular thing, that the feelings, whether negative feelings or positive feelings, whatever you have to put into your attitude, and that when you right attitude, that will be as you know, librarians have a commitment to the librarians are selfless job, library service, selfless service in the sense whether not the reader may they, we help the seeker of information that will give pleasure to him and that will also. As you perhaps know that the famous saying, that means service to humanity. We are in a position that to serve humanity, to serve the man, providing them the right information to that user. Now, thank the organizers to be with you, if
Thank you.
not physically, at least through electronically. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time. We respect and value your opinion. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Now, moving on further.
Hello, I am unable to listen to you.
Hello, thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. We respect and value your opinion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just a second. No, sir, there are no questions right now. Thank you, sir. Moving on further, I would like to welcome our guest of honor. Due to some professional commitment, he couldn't join us earlier. So I wholeheartedly welcome our guest of honor and our keynote speaker, Professor H.N. Prasad, who is the Vice Chancellor of Nalanda Open University, as well as Patna University. Sir has a work experience of almost 26 years. Sir is well recognized for his work in the field of library and information science and has been awarded both at national and international level. He is known for preparing course material for various open universities and also course material for PGT-LAN program of Indira Gandhi Open, National Open University. Sir has also proposed one-year apprenticeship program for students of library and information science. Sir, it's a great honor to have you with us today. I welcome you, sir, to this webinar and I request you to address the participants. H.N. Prasad, sir.
Good evening to all of you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Respected Professor N.R. Satrana, Dr. Bipta Jaiswal, and the Vice Chancellor of the Lucknow University, Professor Rai. I am indeed honored to participate in this webinar as a guest of honor. I'm sorry that I could not get myself connected earlier because of the technical reasons. The topic of the webinar is quite relevant to our field, managing emotions in libraries and information organizations. As we know that today, the work of management has become very complex and multidimensional in the sense that we have to manage the resources, we have to manage the human beings, and we know that the libraries comprise of the three important elements, that is the book, reader, and the staff. So we have to manage the staff also. We have to manage the readers also. And if you look to the developments related to the management theories, the earlier theory or the earliest theory of management was the what we call it as the classical theory of management, in which there is to be a defined organizational structure with a clear defined line of authority, and there was a clear-cut division of work, and it was presumed that if we are able to have a proper structure, division of work, division of uh, powers and the duties, we will be able to manage the organizations. Then it was later realized that uh, only having a well-organized structure in the libraries or any other organization is not sufficient. It is the attitude of the people who are working that is important. If you are not able to manage the attitude or the what you have captioned as the emotions, that is directly related to the behavior of the people in the organization, and thus came the behavioral theory of management, in which the emotions, feelings, attitudes, and all aspects of behavior play an important role in achieving the objective of the organizations. However, good structure we may create, but if the employee doesn't have a positive attitude, if he's not willing to work, if he's not happy, or there are a lot of conflicts and emotional issues involved between the employees, then the work of the organization suffer. Very important that we should seriously look to these behavioral issues, which include the emotions also, the feelings that the employees have or should have, is a important criteria for ensuring that the uh, organizations are able to achieve their as we know that the libraries are meant for providing services of various kinds, and the people also manage have a lot of they may be disturbed, they may have the conflict, they have problem relating to the relationship between the employees. So all these are concerned with the emotions. So today there have been a lot of uh, developments in management, how to manage the emotions or how to take care of all these behavioral issues. And emotion is one aspect of the overall behavioral issues of the employees that we have to look for. And already you must have all discussed the various aspects of the emotional factors that are of concern to the library management or the managers of libraries or the librarians. And today, if we go by our experience, we see that in any organization, whether it is a library or whether it is a university or whether it is a college, uh, the authorities are facing these problems. And the more the stress people have gives rise to lots of many emotional issues, and that directly or indirectly affects their performance and working, because there are people who have a enmical attitude, or they do not have the proper attitude, and for that many factors are responsible. what is the work environment, what is the work culture, are they able to get the required degree of respect in the organization or not, or what is their relationship with their superiors and their subordinates. And we have to work in a group. So when we work in a group, the what we call it as the organizational behavior comes into play. So I have heard to the speech of Professor Anna Satana, he has highlighted some of the issues. I could not hear the other participants because of the technical problem of connectivity. So I thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to interact and share my experiences. We have a lot of administrative experiences, whether that of a library or whether that of a department or whether that of a university. And everywhere the people are involved. So when there are people, so behavioral issues will be there, whether it is a issue of conflict or whether it is issue of anxiety or whether it is a question of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. So all these matters are to be seriously considered. So I am confident that this webinar will come out with certain specific recommendations and that will be brought to the notice of the authorities. And I once again thank everyone, especially Dr. Babita Jaswal, who uh, gave me this opportunity to interact. So thanks to everyone. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your time. We are privileged to have you. Thank you, sir. Now I would request our organizing secretary, uh, Babita ma'am, to kindly deliver vote of thanks. Babita ma'am, over to you.
Good evening to all of you. First of all, I want to express my great gratitude to our dynamic Vice Chancellor, sir, for his support and encouragement. My very humble and sincere thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor, Nalanda Open University and Patna University, Professor H.M. Prashad, sir, who has accepted my offer to be present in this webinar as a guest of honor. He hasn't taken a second to accept my offer. So thanks a lot, sir, to be with us. Great thanks to our Dean and Head, Professor V.K. Shukla, for his guidance and support. I have no words for our teacher, mentor, and guide, Professor N.R. Satyanarayana. Without his support, this event would not be possible. Thank you, sir, for being with us whenever we need you. Thanks a lot to our Dean Academics, Professor Arvind Mohan, and Additional Director, Dr. Kiran Lata Dangwar, Professor Anil Mishra, in charge website, for making me aware about the official formalities required to conduct this workshop. I also want to thank my senior professors of Library Information Science for their kind support and encouragement. I sincerely acknowledge the effort of our speakers, Madam Anjana Bhatt and Dr. Rajesh Singh, as without them, this event would not have been possible. Thank you very much, Anjana ma'am and Dr. Rajesh. Now here is a chance to say thanks to Dr. Anjana, Dr. Jyoti, Dr. Pravish, Dr. Shahnaz Banu, Pratibha Shukla, and at last Garima Bisaria for coordinating this webinar very sincerely and beautifully. I am really thankful to our dedicated and committed technical team member Rakhi Singh and Junaid Rani. They have taken so much pain to organize this event successfully. I am thankful to my research scholars, especially Junaid, who extended his support and stood behind me during the preparation of organizing this webinar. And I'm also very thankful to my dear AMLIB and DLIB students. And a lot of thanks to the participants who have attended this webinar from India and abroad. Your presence is our motivation. So thanks a lot. Thanks again, all of you. Before leaving the meeting, I just want to convey a message to all of you. You need not to worry about the feedback link if it is not working. So please save the link and try again later. Uh, During the webinar, I received a message from Shruti Shukla. She has filled a feedback form. So maybe it is not working now, it will work later. So please don't worry about the feedback link, feedback form, and your certificate. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. Now it's over to Garima. So please request a participant to end the meeting.
Bye.
So we would request our distinguished guest and the participants, and we'll take their leave. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, distinguished guests, participants, for your presence. We thank you all. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Garima.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.